a.m. It's
So
10 a.m.
it is 10:19 a.m. on November 11th. Is that right?
10th.
November 10th. It is Veterans Day here in the U.S., so we salute all those who served.
Yeah, do you have any veterans in your family?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Almost all the men in my family up until my dad's generation served.
Very good.
And that's something that I was reading about. You know, people our age, and especially maybe even more your age, almost everybody knew somebody that was in the military.
Oh, yeah.
But it's gone from something like in 1980, 60% of families had somebody, and now it's 16%.
Yeah. Well,
And
I mean,
so-
there are two reasons for that, too. One of the people don't enlist, they don't get in the military like they used to. And another thing is the military is sort of, in America, there was a time where the military sort of pared down. They're more picky.
Well, you're also leaving out a huge reason why, and that's the Vietnam draft.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm talking about why it's continues to go down. The Vietnam draft, it did make a lot of people enter the military. In fact, my uncle was I believe he was an MP in that. Of course, everyone knows my grandpa was a World War II hero, and my pop, they turned my pop down because of it for medical reasons. He would want to be in. I think several of his brothers were in. You know, like you said, a lot of people served.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of my friends were in. Guy I work with was in. You know, so almost everyone in my division was in the military, but me.
Right. But you're right. You know, fewer people, not necessarily from this area. I think that the trend still stands that if you are from a region like West Virginia, a sort of impoverished area, the military is sort of a way out. And you do get more people from this area enlisting.
I believe West Virginia has the highest military enlistment I know for years we were number one in the country, and so like you said, my buddy worked at a farm and he was like, "Screw this, Air Force."
Right.
You know? So that's what. Now, did you ever think about joining the military?
I have bad feet. I don't know if you've noticed, but I walk like a duck. Yeah.
Yes, I have. Well, not like a duck. I don't notice that.
Yeah, and so. If I wanted to, I'd be unable, but I'm not sure that I'd be well suited for the military life. I don't like to get up early, and I'm scared of danger.
Being a teacher.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's not so bad. It's not like I'm getting up at 4:30.
Yeah.
You know, that's what. But I do. You know, I have nothing but respect for the people that are in the armed forces.
Oh yeah, they're the best. They got guts. Man.
And I think that, you know, like I've lived in countries where you had compulsory military service. In Korea, everybody serves in the military, and if you're like me, then you get some sort of a job where it doesn't matter that you've got bad feet, you're still going to be in there. And I think that, you know, the military has it instills a sense of discipline in you. There's a lot of good things that come out of it.
Yeah, I know. I think Russia's like that, where they have compulsory a certain amount of time for service. You know, I can see both sides, I guess.
Sure.
You know, I mean, in a lot of ways, it might make your country a little more disciplined. I'd say America is one of the more undisciplined countries. You know, but you know, speaking of impoverished, I want to bring this up. This is world news. This is what's the 10th of November.
I'm glad you're bringing this in.
2017.
I've already got it linked up here.
China, our friends, God bless these folk.
Oops.
Over in
just
China.
started my NES simulator.
Nice work. They have decided to invest $83 billion with a B dollars in our little state for shale. Natural gas, I think, is the main reason, and I think possibly. I don't know if there's any coal liquefaction stuff in there.
What I heard on the news,
energy stuff.
Yeah, just energy stuff, and this is going to be huge for our state.
It's the biggest thing that may have ever happened in the state, except the foundation of coal in the state.
Right.
This is the biggest thing. I mean, $83 billion is that's a lot of money anywhere.
Yeah.
But that's for us. I mean, we've never sniffed that kind of cash.
Right.
And we've had foreign investment from, like, say, Toyota, our good friends in Japan, who have a couple plants in the state. But this is when I saw this, I about fell out of my chair. And my buddy was patting me on the back because he's from Kentucky, and he's like, "Man, you guys finally did it. You guys got something going on." So I have high hopes for this, and say what you will about the current administration. This was the state where he was the most popular, and they loved Trump down here. And he did go over. Now, I don't know how much he had to do with this. I don't know what the scoop is, but I mean, It didn't happen to anybody else's watch, so I'll give the guy that. If you give him anything, give him that. And hopefully we're going to see some bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, I would love to see some bucks, but
China's just going to roll in with a truck and just throw money, just throwing money.
You know, it's. I think it's neat that it's China. West Virginia is one of the states. Probably we may be the. We're ready to make a deal.
Yeah,
we always have been. You know, immigrants, bring them in. You know, like anything you got, we'll whatever you got, because we don't have nothing.
Right.
So it's just so when you hear this news, it's just unbelievable. You know, I couldn't believe it. What did you think about it?
Yeah, well, you know, the first thing I thought was, geez, I hope some environmental Friends of the Mountain group doesn't do something to screw this up, because I'm all for the environment, but I'm also for people. And there's a lot of people in West Virginia that have not had a lot going for them for a while.
That's the truth.
And you know, you need natural resources, and you can't just say, well, you can take those from somewhere else as long as it's not here. Here is where they are, and that is, you know, the West Virginia, our state was built on national resources. Everything that we have came from either the coal industry or the chemical industry, and when that disappears, our state withers.
Yeah, or even tourism. It's to a certain degree, it's the same thing. You know, there's a right way and a wrong way to do stuff. You know, the coal industry really did a number. We've talked about this 4 or 5 episodes ago when I was out in Cabin Creek. They really jacked up a lot of nice stuff. That said, there's a balance that we've got to strike. Now, most of the shale extraction of natural gas doesn't happen near here. That's mostly up in the northern part of the state, or the central north. I mean,
it's not.
I don't know anywhere around here.
Not in our immediate region of West Virginia.
But I mean, they said it was the Marcellus Shale shelf or whatever was a huge boon of natural gas, but we heard about this years ago. We've never really seen a whole lot of action out of it. You know,
it's mostly been up in Pennsylvania. So,
and unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is owned by, guess what, out-of-state people. I wonder how much this is going to go to Oklahoma, for example. I know they own a significant portion of that shale. So hopefully, I mean, if anything, we get some jobs out of it. Would be great.
Yeah.
But I mean, $83 billion. I mean, it couldn't have come at a better time. I mean, we hear all these reports around here. I mean, I don't want to say like, boy, we got it worse than everybody, but I mean, you got schools that are have mold in them. They don't have heat. They got to cancel school because they don't have any heat. You know, they've got all these problems. They've consolidated all these schools where you got kids on the school bus for like an hour and a half to get to school. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have, our infrastructure's tanking. The roads are turning to mush. Hopefully whoever is running the state when this deal goes down, whether it's the current guy, whoever, will get in there and use the money properly, and get it done properly.
Right. So yeah, exciting news for West Virginia.
Yeah, we finally got a win. I can't believe it.
So, remember a couple weeks ago, I made a big announcement. After you mocked me for buying the Wii U, in turn you mocked me for selling the Wii U.
Oh, I'll mock you.
And so I bought the Wii U just over 1 year ago. From JCPenney of all places. They had an online sale for $209. I sold the Wii, or I listed the Wii on eBay, the Wii U on eBay, and it sold 2 or 3 weeks ago for $192.
Right.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, pretty good deal. It's a pretty good deal unless the person that buys it does not pay you, which happens with some regularity on eBay. I sell quite a few things.
You heard from this guy, didn't you?
He said, hey, I'm not paying, basically. He's like, it's too expensive. I'm not paying. I found it cheaper somewhere else. So I was like, fine. And so I reported the buyer to eBay for whatever good that does, and I relisted it.
Pal.
Right. So I relisted it last week. It ended just a couple of days ago. I sold the Wii, and this is already paid for, $215.
Not bad. Now, what'd you pay for it?
$209.
So you made $4. Now but you had included some games that you would have bought separately, didn't you?
I included no games. It
Really?
was exactly the package, except it didn't come with the DLC codes because I already used them. So it was less than, it came with less than what I purchased.
How do you explain that? Congratulations. I mean, that's great. So basically you get to play it for a year rent-free.
Right. Now, of course, after eBay fees and PayPal fees, it'll probably come out a wash, but still, you know, I still at least broke even on the Wii U. I believe that it is the popularity of the Mario Kart series and the fact that holidays are coming up right around the corner. But what I can't understand is that you can buy a Switch for $300.
Right.
And so now, by the time that you add, say, if you wanted to play Mario Kart on the Switch, you're adding, another $60 to that. So you're getting to be pretty high up there. But I really can't explain why the Wii. I had lots of problems with the Wii U. I would never admit this while I still owned it, but it was slow to boot. I don't know. Have you spent a lot of time with the Wii U?
I've never played one more than just about having somebody hand me get one and say, "Here, play this." Jamie had one.
So when you turn on the Wii, the original Wii, they get the splash screen for about a second, and then and everything loads up. Mm-hmm. The Wii U is not that way. You turn on the Wii U, and you wait, and you wait. And then you launch the game. First of all, you can't even launch the game with a regular controller. You have to grab that monstrosity with the screen in it just to launch a game. So you hit Mario Kart, and you wait, and you wait. And it's literally like a 30-second load time to load up the game.
It's disc-based.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. But the Wii is disc-based too, and you didn't have this. It was not. Oh, no, actually, it's not even disc-based because Mario Kart 8 was installed on the hard drive. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then you have to set the controller down because that controller is useless and horrible, and pick up another controller that you have that you can play with.
You mean the one with the screen in it? You don't like that one?
It's the controls are terrible. Plus, you can't turn off the screen. So you're constantly, like, if you're trying to look at the screen, you've got that flashing right below you. Mm-hmm. Very distracting to me. So I was not happy with the Wii U. Even though I thought Mario Kart 8 was great, it was just a lot of different parts. And when I contemplated moving it upstairs, because obviously we don't use this room for anything in the podcast anymore, I was like, well, then I got to figure out what to do with the sensor bar because the TV and the couch are far apart, and I can't. It's like mounted up high.
So the Wii U has a sensor bar as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
that makes sense because you can use the Wii controller
exactly,
in a Wii game.
Exactly. And so, and I was like, and then I've got to find a place to kind of have, because you got to mount that controller somewhere where it can charge when you're not using it, or else it'll drip dry, and then you won't be able to fire up the system because you can't start the system without having that controller charged. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. So I sold it. If and when an Animal Crossing game is released for the Switch, I might go for it because that's the one game that Eep and I like to play together. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, I sort of channeled the funds from that into the Oculus Rift.
I'm going to remind you of this conversation in a few months or years when you decide to sell the Oculus, because you just said you wouldn't badmouth it while you owned it.
Right.
We already went into the discussion about the Oculus and the riveting submarine game that you got footage of.
Now,
I've never seen a dial more beautifully rendered on my screen. I was just like, geez.
Now, I will say that I did have the first moment with the Oculus this week where I said, boy, I am really glad that I own this, and I really had fun. And it is a game called Rec Room. Have you heard of this before?
No.
The Rec Room is it's a mini game collection, not unlike Wii Sports. Mm-hmm. And playing paintball in that is really fun. It's really fun to, because you're in a 3D environment. You're looking around, and you're in a paintball course, and you're running around. So when we do some Amigos plays later on, I may let you don the virtual goggles, and you can give me your first impressions of what you think.
I've played a few of the games on the Rift, and what's Brent got?
He's got the Vive.
On the Vive. I've played stuff on the Vive. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've fooled with the Rift, but like I said, I told you before, I'm waiting for. It's inexcusable for there not to be some awesome app out for that. I cannot figure it out, and it's killing them. I think. Like I said, Sony in the picture. You might get some action. They got Resident Evil. I want stuff like that. I want a big AAA title on there, and I want to feel like I'm virtual reality. You can only take it's just and the Wii. It's funny because you're not a big fan of the Wii, are you? As I recall.
Well,
didn't we have a conversation about you weren't a big fan?
I don't like to be forced to use motion controls unless it's a game like Wii Sports where that's the game.
Well, what I'm saying is Wii was a. I love the Wii. Mm-hmm. And not just because it's easily bootleg stuff.
Right.
I like that. The first time I saw it, I was like, man, this is great. Mm-hmm. And when it's at its best, it's tremendous.
Yeah, I agree.
The Wii was a cautious step forward into a new genre of games. Now, plenty of people, the Wii reminds me a lot of the Jag. All right? Here, and I'll tell you why. The Jaguar had these two RISC processors good to go, right? And then they threw this other little dinky processor in there to handle some I/O, right? And the Wii has these motion sensors. You're ready to go with some awesome, like almost virtual reality stuff, right? But a lot of people just ignored that and just, we're just going to port over some crap, right? So the Wii's got a bunch of crap on it, right? They don't get what the Wii is, you know. When the Wii does the stuff that it's supposed to do, it does it very well. Right. And now I would say the same thing about the Jag, but I'm not sure there are hardly any games that took advantage of those processes.
And I think that the major difference is, and I immediately almost had a violent reaction when you said that, because I was like, how could you compare the two? But what you say makes sense. The difference is that the Wii at least had Nintendo churning out quality titles for it. The Jag had nobody. The Jag, like, even well, I mean,
if you think about like a game like Alien vs. Predator or Doom or something like that, the highly touted, or even Tempest. At least they were out there. They were putting a little bit of power forth. But I mean, I don't think the Jag ever got fully tapped. And I think maybe in the homebrew market, which I haven't checked out, but I heard that they're using that. So, and another game system that had a similar problem was the Saturn, where it had all these. They had grafted two different chipsets together. And so what you got was a lot of stuff that took advantage of the old stuff and didn't really use the full power of the thing, right?
Yeah.
The Wii was not a powerhouse, but I mean, the comparison is in what it was good at, which was the motion controls, especially when they got the extra little motion pack. Like, I don't know if you've played a Wii Sports Resort, but that's a tremendous collection of mini games. And bowling and is upgraded, and they've got bow and arrow and all stuff. But the Wii and the virtual reality have a lot in common, because when you make these mini games, you're sort of taking the path of least resistance. All right, we'll do this little mini game here. They're not tough to put together. We'll do this and do that. You know, I've watched you do I've played the kitchen thing you did. I've played the convenience store thing. Don't get me wrong, they were good little tech demos, and I've played a bunch of the other ones that Brent's got. But I mean, that's sort of the way I look at a lot of the Wii stuff. Even Wii Sports Resort has some stuff in it that don't work. And it also, if you ever played the sequel, the true sequel to the Wii Sports was released. It was the packet in Japan. I can't remember the name of it. It had like darts and like billiards. And
I haven't played that.
I can't remember the name of it.
I can't believe they didn't bring that out here.
I think they did eventually, but I think it was like something. The Japanese had it first. I remember but it's not as good in my opinion. There's not a game on
it. Was it Wii Play Motion? Was that what it was here? Okay.
But it just had different. But it was just a collection of mini games. But I mean, if you look at the Wii. Right, what were the games, right, that were full games, not mini games, that took advantage of the Wii controls in an efficient way? Like, can you name some?
Well, no.
I can name a couple. You know, the one Brent played with where you had the guy with the swords. It was called Red something.
Oh yeah, Red Steel or something like that.
And I remember that.
I never played that.
It was okay, but I mean, at least they were in there trying. It wasn't perfect, but I mean. When I envisioned playing the Wii, I had my two Wiimotes. I had a shield and a sword.
Right.
You know, where was your Star Wars? Where was the big titles that used the stuff effectively? And that is what cost the Wii to a certain degree. It certainly cost them with hardcore gamers. I think that's where the Oculus and the home VR section, they've got to get to that point. I think they've already. I mean, obviously, clearly they've passed the Wii from a technology standpoint, even to a certain degree, maybe from a fun standpoint. But I mean. I want that Star Wars game where I'm Luke Skywalker and I'm sword fighting Darth Vader. I want something, where I'm using my gun and running back and forth and being real cool, like a Doom, like an Unreal or something where you can really get into. I want one of these first-person shooters where I'm the guy, and they're coming. I'm sure they're coming. It just I thought they would be here by now. I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
Does that make any sense? I'm not poo-pooing. I'm super behind VR.
Yeah. What you say makes perfect sense. Again, we talked about this last week, but I think that you underestimate the amount of motion sickness you might feel as you're running through a first-person shooter in real time. It's very disorienting, but I've got a game that is like that. I can't play it, but we'll put you in there and we'll see how you react.
I've never gotten ill playing.
So maybe
there are very few movies that have done it. Like I said, that monster Cloverfield that made me sick watching because there's so much camera.
Sure, it's all handheld stuff.
But, I mean, I'm pretty solid.
So it'll be interesting to see. I've got a bunch of games because I went crazy when I bought the Rift, and but a lot of them I just can't play because I'm the opposite of you. Like, I get sick just thinking about being on a roller coaster.
Have you got any of the horror games? Now, some of those look pretty interesting, and I've got a couple that I play on the goggles that I've got. And they're very spooky.
Yeah. And so I'm looking forward to having you be sort of the test case for all these experiences that I'm either too ill or too scared to have.
Yeah, man, I'm down. I'm down. I love me some VR. Like I said, no one wants it to succeed more than me. No, right. I want it to succeed desperately. I want to get a rig. I'd love to get one. It's just space and money and time. I've got a small rig, and I don't get to use that, so that's a bummer. So talk to everybody, because we were talking about this before the show about how this show helped you with your job.
Okay. So, we started doing this show 2.5 years ago.
Oh, God.
And
every week for 2.5 years?
And we started taping the show in video probably 2 years ago. I think it was about half a year in. Maybe it was a little
40 something?
Yeah, maybe a little bit longer. Maybe it's 8 months in. And we started using open broadcasting software. And it's come back to help me in real life, because I was hired at West Virginia State University to work in the Center for Online Learning to do multiple things. But the main thing is that the guy in charge of it was interested in having somebody be able to videotape lectures and make them appealing to people who are taking the courses remotely. So ordinarily, I don't know if you've ever seen a stereotypical taped lecture, but they're usually poor on a number of levels. The camera is usually too far away. The professor walks in and out of frame. The audio is atrocious. And when stuff is either, when they have a PowerPoint up on the whiteboard, or if they're writing on the whiteboard, you can't see it because there's only one camera. So I used what I learned from this show, from OBS, to be able to project both the PowerPoint, which the professor sends to me beforehand, onto the scene, and then have them down there in the corner. And one thing that was really surprising to the director of the Center for Online Learning was how powerful webcams have gotten, because he sort of had this, early 2000s perception of webcams, that they're crap,
I understand. I was like that too.
Yeah, and so when I hooked up, I got this is actually one above the one that we have, the C920, which is full 1080p. The thing that's advantageous to that is that it's got this huge field of view. So the professor can walk back and forth and still be captured on that. We had our first run for that on last week on Monday, and it was a smashing success. The professor was very happy. So for the next 4 or 5 weeks, I'm going to be taping these lectures and getting paid to do it.
Not bad, eh?
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. So the podcast is
paying off.
It's paying off.
It hasn't paid me. I haven't got no help. That's done nothing for me in my professional life. Nothing.
You don't know that. You don't know how many people over there at the Kentucky State Police, when you came in for the interview, they're like, this other guy, he's pretty good, but this guy is one of the Amigos. I had this job before I had
the show.
Did you?
Yeah.
I thought that you got the job shortly after we started the show.
No, I had the job I've had the job for more
I guess you're right, because you were gone forever and ever and ever. You couldn't have done the show.
Yeah, I was gone for that sucks so bad. Well, good job, Boat.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see it. And plus, there's the real estate angle. You've always got that.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever use your drone for that stuff?
No, I ended up selling the drone. I know, surprise, surprise. I sold it to my barber.
You employing a barber is much like me employing one. Hilarious.
I gotta stay current.
He should be buying you stuff.
I go in there with my People magazine and I say I want to look just like that.
Right.
And he says, "Well,
that guy
has
at?
hair."
Patrick Stewart.
Man, I'd love to go Patrick Stewart, but Eve will not allow it. She wants me to keep the little that I have up here.
Well,
it's kind of a.
You'll be joining the club here soon, my friend.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? I had a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about. Oh, yeah, let's talk about fantasy football. This is everybody's favorite
Poor you
thing.
This week. It's over. The dream has died. Your running back is at the door.
So Ezekiel Elliott, well, actually, I didn't even start him last week. I put him up on waiver wire last week because I thought that he was going to be suspended then.
No.
But,
did someone pick him up?
Yeah, somebody picked him up, but I still ended up winning the game last week.
Yeah, well done.
For
our division, it's a miracle.
I am solidly in the middle of the standings. Let's pull them up real quick.
I'm sucking big time. While you're pulling this, did you notice, last week's pre-show was a free show?
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice it had more hits on YouTube than our actual show?
Well, I'm not.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Maybe we've got this reversed.
Yeah, maybe. maybe if you're a Patreon supporter, you actually get to hear what we say about the Amiga and everything else.
And I also noticed our playing of the game got more hits than the actual show as well.
You know, it's hit or miss with that stuff. Some weeks it's like that. Some weeks it's not. So if we look here, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for those at home.
Because they got to see this.
Yeah. So here is my team here. Zeus versus Abdullah, as you can see.
You're nearing 500.
High atop the division. But this is the more interesting thing to me, the weekly summary. All of these guys have pretty awesome teams. So I feel like I'm the best of the terrible teams.
You notice that I'm eerily close to you, and actually all three of us are in a row.
Yeah.
I have lost a lot of close games and just been repeatedly screwed this season.
Now, what I was wondering is, as you can see, it looks like I'm favored to lose. I may need to tweak.
Yeah,
my
but that's a pick-em right there.
Yeah.
Mine is 3.4. You're right there in it.
So I'd like you to tell me who these people are. Who is my scrubs?
That's our buddy Dale. He's in Columbus.
Okay. And how about this guy, Team Fight?
Good question. I don't remember his name.
So these are all not people that you actually know.
I know some
life.
of them.
Okay.
I know some of them.
Okay. Brent, obviously.
Yeah, that's Brent, our Patreon subscriber.
So Brent is really, I wonder if he's just phoning it in.
Well,
this season.
I'm playing Brent this week, and his guy started last night, got no points, so we're off and running.
Okay, Midnight Riders.
That's Sweet Pea, Pat Jarvis down in Texas, Houston, Texas.
Okay. How about the Crazies?
That is Kara. I'm not sure where she's at now. Only girl member of the league.
And how about Whack Masters?
That is Terry. He's
okay, I know Terry.
You know him.
Yep. Okay. This guy, Eastside Kennels.
That's I believe that is Singing Joe. I believe he's up in Michigan or Minnesota or somewhere.
And the $1 Million Men.
That's Hose.
Oh, okay.
Our good friend Hose.
Okay, that's good to know. And how about this
Pinch
guy?
is simply known as Pinch, my arch rival and arch nemesis. He's already thumped me.
Is he from Pinch, West Virginia?
He's from Pinch.
Okay, that's what I thought. And how about this guy?
This guy was in the league. This is a long story. Team formerly known as Syracuse. I think it was in Upper New York. He's won the league a bunch of times. Actually, he's very good. He's had a bad year this year, but he's a good guy.
And then finally, the Mud Mountain Monarchs.
That's me. Yeah, bringing up the rear as I should. This is one of the worst seasons I've ever had. I had a bad feeling about this year. I didn't draft well. I was too worried about making everything work and not worried enough about picking my team.
Right.
And that's
well.
Next year, one thing is I've watched more football and I'm more attuned to it than I've been for years. And so that's what shows you what happens when you're. I should have just been aloof and stupid, not paying attention like I usually am.
You know, it's funny. I listen to. I don't always listen to Tony Kornheiser every single day, but I always listen to his Wednesday shows because that's when he has all the football guys on.
Yeah.
And I sort of make an amalgamation of what I believe to be true.
Listen to you. You're like Dale, a big sports guy. No one would pick you as a sports guy.
I know. The NFL is really the only, and I'll tell you why I like the NFL. Because it's easy to follow because the games are all like over a 3-day spread. It's not like teams are playing every day like baseball and basketball. And the other thing is that the season seems shorter, even though I know month-wise it doesn't seem that way. But it seems like I understand what's going on. I can see the ebb and flow of the league over 16 weeks.
The NFL won't be around for long.
This is your prediction.
It's not their fault. It's got nothing to do with the taking a knee at the anthem or oversaturation of the market. That's all baloney. It's going to come down to one simple fact: playing football hurts your brain, and that's it. That's what will ultimately determine. I mean, the league will. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be a short process, but I mean, we have seen the high water mark of the NFL. In fact, it was many years ago in terms of quality of play. And entertainment value and popularity.
When do you think the high watermark of the NFL was?
Oh, boy. I'd have to think. I'll tell you, the year that the Giants ended the Patriots' undefeated streak was a pretty big year.
2007 was when I was in Korea.
That would be near it. That was a lot of interest in the league that year.
Yeah. And
it was before the concussion thing became a huge deal.
Right.
It's a huge deal. I mean, being a wrestling fan, I've been tuned to the concussion issue for a lot longer than most people, and much like the steroid issue. Which it's funny being a wrestling fan. If you're like a fan of the inside stuff, you've heard about all these drugs and all these tests years and years and years before they actually made any sort of press. And concussion stuff. There was a guy in wrestling named Chris Nowitzki who got a concussion and ended his career, and he was one of the founding guys that did the study and went to Harvard. And he's a big wheel and deal in the whole concussion, study arena. And I remember hearing, I mean, we always sort of knew, you'd always heard the old saying, "Oh, he got his bell rung," but I mean, no one really thought much about it.
Right. And the players today, did you watch the game last night?
I watched the last 20 seconds.
Okay. No. Russell Wilson, who's the quarterback for the Seahawks, they told him to go to the tent. They've got the concussion tent
now,
I love that. which is
it's supposed to give these guys privacy, but who knows what's going on in that tent.
Right. So they show a camera lowering down over the concussion tent. As soon as it hits the ground, Russell Wilson lifts it back up and walks back out on the field. And he says, "I'm fine." And that's so
concussion averted.
Yeah. So the players don't take it serious, or the players just want to get out there and play. Yeah, they're competitive.
Hey, and it's nothing about the players, or it's not like they're not tough.
All the players are tough.
I mean, but you've got and what's compounded the issue is the fact that you've got. When I grew up, you had a 300-pound linebacker or a 250-pound linebacker, and they were of certain size and certain speed. They're like at least as big and twice as fast.
Right.
I mean, they're muscle.
And that's the problem is
muscle science
is that the game has stayed the same and the players have evolved.
It's a lot like Mutant League football or whatever. It's, I mean, these guys are mutants.
They're huge. I mean, like if you think about like the Four Horsemen, Newt Rockney and all those guys.
Yeah.
Those guys weighed like less than 200 pounds.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable the switch it's made. I mean. You can't compare. You always have these fancy matchups. What if the '85 Bears took on like the high offense of the St. Louis Rams?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, it
would be no question.
No, it would be. I mean, well, maybe that might be a question. But I mean, like if the '85 Bears took on, say, like the modern day, I don't know, the Eagles or the Cowboys, they would get crushed.
Right.
They'd be so much smaller than the other guys.
Right, because size is just size and strength. I mean, you've
got 6'6", 6'7", and these are quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's like they're monsters.
Yeah, not to mention like tight ends. Like Gronkowski's like 6'7", 300 pounds.
Monsters.
Yeah.
Monsters. So football. And the thing is, you can only apply so many rules, you can only apply so many pads, and you can only apply so much technology to the problem. I mean, look, if you watch a game this year, and I've watched a bunch of games, people get smashed all the time.
Yeah, injuries
and the games take forever because these guys are getting carted off the field. God bless them, and they're sorting out these crazy penalties. Mm-hmm. And it affects the. I'll take the physical part of it out. It affects the game from a viewership perspective. I don't want to sit through a 15-minute timeout.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit through a 17 minutes of the refs looking at a play or trying to figure out who to apply the personal fouls to. Remember there was a sweet spot where they streamlined the game. They added the second clock to it and did all that stuff, and it worked. Mm-hmm. Games went from every game used to be a 4-hour game. They went down to about 3 hours and 15 minutes. Man, every game I watch this year goes on forever.
I still think they're so much more efficient with time management than in baseball. I mean, baseball.
Well, we're not comparing it to baseball.
But I mean, you compare it to other sports now.
But baseball, there's a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
Football is too.
Baseball is pretty much 90% downtime.
Football. there's a difference between football and baseball. It's football. I mean, baseball's like a lifestyle sport. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really. When I was into it. I remember it was a sunny spring. I would sit down and I was like, okay, I'm going to devote the next 4 hours of my life to watching the Reds take on the Padres.
Right.
You sit down. You have your cold one. Mm-hmm. You kick back. Maybe you've got a magazine.
Yeah.
You could do 2 or 3 things at once when you're watching baseball.
Exactly. And of course, a big reason why I like football is because Eep likes football, and that's something that we can do together. Well, it's hard for me to get into the Thai dramas that she watches on TV, although I'd like to. But she doesn't appreciate it because I constantly make smart remarks about what's going on, which is understandable. Yeah, I understand. But football is something that we both enjoy. I still remember when the light went on. Like the first 2 years she was here, we'd watch it and she'd be like, I have no idea what's going on. And then all of a sudden we were watching some game and she's like, I get it. And then from then on, she's a hard.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, she's a hardcore.
She's rooting for the wrong team, but
well, it's funny because she likes the Seahawks, but she hates Pete Carroll. Just something about Pete Carroll. She's just like, I say.
It could be his crookery. If she knew anything about his past, he pretty much took down the UCLA program for a few years with his crookery. But well, hey, speaking of sports, and before we wrap this up. The Nate.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about
30
that.
For 30 on the Nate.
I did not see it. I hope to catch it on demand.
It was pretty good. I watched it a couple nights ago, and it was pretty honest from a fan's perspective that knows what happened. They were pretty honest about stuff. In fact, as a Ric Flair guy, it was a little too much.
You felt like they were digging in on the Nates too much.
I don't like to know about the depressing parts. I like the Nature Boy as a character. Mm-hmm. So when you get into Ric Flair being all the greats of him as a wrestler, but he was a hideous dad,
right?
Horrible husband.
I mean,
I don't really necessarily. I sort of knew that, but I don't necessarily want it to be driven home.
Yeah.
And with his kids and his wife and his son who's passed away, it's just like, man. That kind of brings me down because I do like the characterization of this guy who was like crazy Ric Flair.
I wanted to ask you about that because you hear about somebody like the guy on the Steelers who's like like a Navy SEAL or whatever. Like there's like people that are, and I'm sure there's tons of people in the NFL that are like actually good people off the field. Who would you say in wrestling was like an awesome wrestler but also like an awesome person? Out of the ring.
Well, of course, not knowing that, knowing that a couple of wrestlers, none real close. I would say everything I've heard. Daniel Bryan is supposed to be a real nice guy, and he's a real environmentally down to earth kind of guy from Seattle, lumberjacky. I would put him on the list. I'm trying to think here. Bobby Heenan was supposed to be a pretty decent guy. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that were pretty nice guys. Beautiful Bobby Eaton, the Midnight Express. I've never heard anybody have a crossword to say about him. He's supposed to be a real good guy. I got to meet him. I told you about that. It was awesome. He no-sold it. He one thing, he's not what I would call charismatic. But, so there are some out there. I always heard Rick Steamboat was a pretty nice guy, Ricky Dragon Steamboat. But, people are people.
Yeah.
They have their good days. Even guys that you hear like scumbags. Like everybody hates Kevin Nash, and I'm sure he's a jerk. But he made a lot of money, and he'd be probably a lot of fun to hang out at the bar.
Yeah. I was just curious about that. All right, let me make sure there's nothing on our pre-show topic list that I don't want to talk about anymore. I think that we actually talked about everything.
I did get it. Let me tell you my new acquisition.
Oh yeah, tell about the PS2.
Yeah, because I've been giving you the scoop on this.
Yeah.
So the local antique store has an auction I play on Facebook, and it's usually crap. But for some reason this week he put up two things that I had some interest in. One, he was selling a boxed copy of Akari Warriors 2 for the NES, which is pretty unusual.
It is.
And
how much do you want for that?
Well, it was an auction.
Oh, an auction, right.
So I believe it went for $26. I looked on eBay. That's about close. So anyway, he had a boxed PS2, or it was the old PS2, with two joysticks, some kind of off-road game. That was the pack-in. It was on the box. So this is the original box with the original pack-in that was in it. All the papers, hookups, the whole 9 yards, and some sort of Ethernet. I've never owned a working PS2. I think I've got a broken one somewhere, but I've never owned a working one. I was a Dreamcast guy. And I thought, well, I don't have one of these, and I think I can hack it. So I would have put a bid on this, because in my mind I have a plan. So I put in a bid, and of course about 20 people were bidding on this thing. I was like, man, I'm never getting this thing, because these, and people are insane.
Yeah.
They'll just like your thing. They don't care.
Right.
So I said, I'm going to put this bid in right here, and then I'm done. I thought I might maybe get $2 more. I'm going to put this bid in. And then I happened to be at the house when the auction ended, and I watched it, and I ended up getting the whole thing for $28.
Very nice.
Now, I looked on eBay at the exact package. This is one of the original PlayStation boxes with the combo packs, what it was called. And I guess they're sort of sought after.
Sure.
They're going for like, kid you not, between $500 and $900. Now, I'm going to get it after the show. I'll be heading down to get my box and see what it's like. Because my plan is there's a way you can hack the PS2 now without actually having to do any mods or any software or buy anything. And I believe, as I recall, I don't know, you probably had a PS2 that way.
Yeah, I bought one.
They will play
soon after they were
PlayStation
released.
games, right?
Absolutely.
So my plan is, since I can run this stuff off the hard drive, because I think I can run them both. I could see what we make this system not have to have any moving parts as my plan. And then I could play on my PlayStation stuff when I into PlayStation 2 stuff, you see. It's a cunning plan.
I didn't realize that. I didn't think that the PlayStation had any sort of ability to run things off a hard drive.
The original ones had a hard drive that came out and stuff. This isn't the Slim, man. This is the PS2 with the drive in the back. So I'll let you know.
Okay.
I haven't actually...
Right.
Because he could have stuck a Slim in there and then say, here's the box,
right.
and it could be a whole different thing.
Yeah, well, I
but
definitely
if it's the one that came in the box, I'm going to do some dire things to it when I get it home. So it'll be, because I don't have enough projects. I need to do another one.
Between $500 and $900, you might need to make your first project selling that thing on eBay.
Well, I just can't. The thing I can't understand is, like, the Ikari Warriors 2 went for about what you would sell on eBay. I can't figure out what, even at $28, even if this is just, it's a tested and working system. Even if this is just a plain Jane PS2, $28. I mean, is that what they're going for? Because I looked on eBay and they weren't going that cheap. I can't figure out why no one bid on it.
Right.
It's the thing I don't understand. Who knows? Hey, maybe sometimes you get lucky.
Just like you did over in Lewisburg. So.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah. Hey Chris, we are on early today. We are.
Is that Chris Foles?
Chris Foles. He's here. Lone guy in the chat room. Of course, this is not our normal recording time. Lots of people in the
Holiday.
UK.
I don't know. Did you mention this on the site that we're going to be shooting at a weird time?
Yeah, I will put it up on Twitter. So.
Oh, good. The Twitter machine.
Yeah, the Twitter machine.
Beautiful.
But anyway, let's go ahead and finish up this this pre-show. And
It's
we'll
finished.
Start the show. So this time I am going to remember to hit start recording, and then we're going to go black, and then we're going to play the intro.
They say once you go black. Let me get this thing. Oh yeah. Are we going to hear the intro?
No.
We didn't talk about how super.
Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Amigos, the podcast about everything Amiga. Amigos is a proud member of the Throwback Network, your home for quality retro podcasts. And now, here are your hosts, Aaron Dowdy and John Bodovkar Schaller. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Top Banana. But before we get into the Top Banana, we've got some feedback from last week.
All right. Beautiful, man.
First message comes from our new friend, Stefan Swargard Mortensen.
Oh, I want to hear you work that in.
Yeah. He says, guys, thank you so much for a great show. I've been listening to you guys since the very beginning, and I'm impressed with how well balanced you're keeping the show. He says, I used to own an Amiga 600 with 2 megabytes of RAM and an extra disk drive. I swapped it for my Sega Mega Drive 2 with a bunch of cartridges. My buddy had an Amiga 500 Plus. We came up from C64s, so the Amiga was a big step up. And then he goes on to say, with shows like yours, Rob O'Hara's, as well as Chicken Lips Radio, I feel like I'm reliving the best days, years of personal computing. The days that only our generation will fully appreciate, coming from a time when people didn't have computers at home, up to now where there's a chip in every light bulb.
He's right.
Yeah.
That's well done.
Yeah.
By the way, Mega Drive 2. What is that?
That's the Genesis 2, the smaller Genesis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what what do they look like?
It looks like, well, you remember how the Mega Drive 1, the Genesis was really angular. It had a volume control knob and stuff.
Yeah.
The Model 2 looks almost like...
So this is the Model 2?
Yeah.
Okay, I know what that looks like. I thought this was some kind of like like I've got the Master System, the tiny one. I thought it was something really...
Just like the Intellivision and the Intellivision 2.
Gotcha.
Just a redesign.
You gave up the Amiga 600 for that?
We all make mistakes.
Get it back, Stefan. But otherwise, I agree with that. That was great.
Let's see. We've also got Actually, I guess we'll do this. We'll do this quiz at the end of the segment. But Darren Coles has submitted an Amiga quiz.
Oh boy!
And we're going to make this an interactive quiz.
How's that going to work?
I'll tell you later on.
Oh, it's a secret.
It's a secret. But that concludes all of the feedback from this week. So you want to dive into some Amiga news?
This was a light news week, if I may say. So there's a few things on here. Actually, I think most of the news that came up, I don't think I even put it in here. So right off the bat here, Chris Folds, who's I believe in the chat, submitted for our approval new Amiga 500 cases? ? Have you seen this one yet?
I did see this when he posted this up. I guess that this is it's a thing that you can stick your 500 motherboard in, and then it just allows you to have extra expandability.
That's a good idea, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of people appreciate the sort of pizza box design of the 2000 because it does allow for so much expandability.
Yeah.
So as long as you are able to extricate your 500 motherboard without causing any damage to it, I think this is a cool idea.
This is like the Bodega Bay for the 5. Remember I've told you about that for the I wanted so bad desperately back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's time for stuff like that, right? Where everyone's expanding. I'd like to see something for the 1200 where you could do something like that, where you could have a little more room to operate in there.
Yeah, and you don't have to hack into the plastic of your case to add stuff in.
I know, I did it. I'm sorry. You do one thing. And the other real news item we've got here, it's from Indie Retro News, of course, is a Star Wars inspired adventure game called Retro Wars. Now I heard about this a while back, but I believe it's only recently went from Spanish to English, and it looks like, having looked at the stills, it looks pretty good. Have you looked at this until right now?
No, this looks like something
they're talking to H.G. Wells.
Right.
You just had to.
I love the art of the little kind of like chibi style. Looks like a simplified Scum engine. You know? And even the font looks like something from out of Maniac Mansion or Monkey Island. So very cool.
Now I believe this is for sale on their site. I don't recall what it was going for.
Let's see if there's.
It's been out for a good while. But that's cute. Episodio.
Okay.
Yeah, Boat is gonna.
So it looks like you can get the boxed edition.
Is that €20?
For €20.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah,
what is it, about $28?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, very cool.
And the box looks awesome too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, head over to amigastore.eu.
Have you ever looked around amigastore.eu?
I've not, because I'm not in the EU, so I never really look. I know that's a stupid statement because I order stuff from there, but I never have.
Huh.
They got a lot of stuff on here, don't they?
Yeah. Looks like they've got. Let's check out. See if they've got full systems here.
No one really carries the full systems, probably, do they? Not the old stuff anymore.
But there is a lot of, there's so many expansion boards and dongles and doohickeys.
We're living in a hacker's paradise here with the Amiga. It's crazy time
out there. That's
awesome. I think that's pretty much all the news I've got. There's some site updates. You want to tackle those? Buddy?
Yeah, why don't you go over them and I'll cue them up.
Well, for starters, just because we could, a couple weeks ago when we did our 3DO extravaganza, we played a game called Royal Pro Wrestling, or the Japanese version, Jikyu Live, on the 3DO, and that was, I'd say, of all the things we did that day, that was the most fun I had doing anything. We had a load of laughs playing this wrestling game, and the wrestling game was cheesy, fun, goodness. We had a real good time on this, didn't we, Bo?
Yeah, I loved this game. The intros were amazing. The after-match confrontations were great. So make sure you check that.
If you want to see genuine emotion, watch me at the end of that video. I've never been so happy. So if you want to see us play non-Amiga stuff, we do it sometimes. We've done it more here recently. We just sit down and film a bunch of stuff and then put it up. So if you're into that, you check out our channel on YouTube. And this one was Royal Pro Wrestling, Royale with cheese. Chris Folds
this, folks.
Posted that. Well, he shared this, which I didn't even see this. So he must have slipped past me. Did you read this? 10 Toy in the House of Fun, 10 Toy Adventure. Dreamcatcher had a look at it. I've heard of this. I've never seen the game. Have you ever played this?
You know what this I think that I have played this. Actually, you know
what?
I get this confused with a Saturn game called Clockwork Knight.
I've heard of that. Yeah,
that's what this reminded me of.
Man, that looks great.
Yeah. So this is a pretty amazing thing. We might have to do a show around this.
Yeah, Dreamcatcher is all over. This article, I did not, like I said, I saw it go up, but I didn't get to read it. But man, this looks great.
Yeah.
Of course, this Dreamcatcher, he always does the best stuff. While I'm thinking about it, speaking of Dreamcatcher, something happened this week that I always love is when I'm researching a game for the show, the research points me back to our site, which is always great, everythingamiga.com, your source for Amiga fun. And Dreamcatcher did a ludicrously detailed article on this week's game, Top Banana, which is that poor guy. This probably, not to tip my hand, folks, but this will make you top bananas. And I'm wagering that this didn't do Dreamcatcher any favors from his stability mentally, because this is be tough to cover, and he went into mega detail. So I wanted to pitch that. If you're interested in delving even further into this game, seek psychiatric help, then look this article up, because it's super detailed.
Really? Yeah.
Had you ever heard of Betty Boo, by the way? That must be a UK artist, because I'd never heard of this lady.
No idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
They say that she has a resemblance to the lead character.
Pop rap artist.
Yeah.
That's my favorite genre.
I know. I was going to say that. I'm surprised you don't know who that is, Boat. I think that's it, man.
Okay.
You got anything else?
I think that's it, too. So, we going to jump into the game?
No.
All right.
We're going to jump in. We're starting a new segment we've been talking about for a while this week. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look back at the Amiga in a year-by-year way. And so what we're going to do this time out for this initial segment is take a look at the Amiga circa 1985, the year it was released. And we're going to look at just, what we're going to do is look at the software that was out and sort of discuss it and sort of contrast it with what was going on with the other computers at the time. And, if people dig it, we may do another year here and there. 85 was the easiest year because it was the very first year that the Amiga came out. So the Amiga 1000, as we've discussed previously, was officially released on July 23rd, 1985. And it shipped in September, right? So
the year was almost over when it finally came out.
That's right.
Yeah.
So and who knows how long these companies had access to the hardware. And we know how by the seat of their pants they were flying to get this hardware ready. If you know anything about the Amiga, I mean, they had crazy breadboards and weird builds, and they were doing everything they can to get this thing ready to go. So just for reference, it was released in September, and in the United States it was $1,295 US. All right, that would get you the Amiga 1000. And the monitor was $300, $300 US. All right, so it was pretty well received, but it wasn't really well received as a business system, which is what they were trying to push it as, right?
Right.
You know who John C. Dvorak is, right?
Oh,
Very famous.
He's sort of the who was the guy on 60 Minutes that always complained about everything?
Andy Rooney?
Yeah, he's the Andy Rooney of the
tech
industry.
John C. Dvorak, I thought this was amusing, so I threw it in. He referred to the Amiga 1000 as a cheap, disposable game machine. So I like Dvorak, but screw you, Dvorak. So just again for reference, Bruce Webster in Byte Magazine in the January 1987 issue reported that Commodore had sold about 150,000 Amigas as of October of 1986. Okay, that will give you some idea of the amount of units that were out there in that area, right? So 150,000 by 86, and I'm guessing that's worldwide, but I can't. Again, they didn't go into that. And then by 87, early 87, rumors were spreading that the size of the Amiga market was disappointing software vendors because they didn't think they'd like to be more.
It would be
sold.
interesting to know how many models, say for example, the Atari ST sold within that time period.
So and a lot of people just said that the Amiga hadn't done as well as they'd hoped. To be honest with you, a lot of companies were misinformed about what Amiga was going to be. Electronic Arts said they expected something that would sell around $600 instead of an $1,800 or $1,500 business machine. They thought they'd be something in the ballpark.
People thought that it was going to be the next game machine like the Commodore 64 was.
Right. The best-selling Amiga games at the time were selling about 25,000 copies, and that was in '86. And then if you compare that to what the C64 was selling, the best-selling games for the C64 were selling between 125 and 150,000 copies.
Right.
So that's a big hit.
Yeah. It's the Apple II / Macintosh thing.
And it was sort of thrown out there that the Amiga was so advanced that people were having trouble understanding what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with that landscape in mind, we're going to look at some of we're going to look at every game that was released for the Amiga in '85. Okay, now there are a few questionable ones in here, which I'll explain.
And as you bring them up, I will bring them up on YouTube. So don't think I'm not listening.
Okay, I wouldn't think that. But. So again, there were a few of these. I consulted the two big databases for the Amiga, which was Lemon and Hall of Light, which we love both those sites. And to kind of call together what was released in '85, okay, and they agreed on almost everything. There were a few there that I put in that they could be @86, okay, but they should all be pretty close to '85. So, and then I also put in generally what they were regarded as, like as rated by Lim, and we'll kind of talk about them. So the first one was a game that I have to say one of my all-time favorites, Archon: The Light and the Dark, which is the Archon. Great game. It's a takeoff on chess where you one side plays the dark side, one side plays the light. The difference is when you actually get together, you actually fight, and these guys have different powers. Now, Bud, I know you're familiar with this, and what are your thoughts?
It's funny. I have never, ever played Archon.
You've never played Archon?
No.
Have you played the second one?
No.
Are you kidding me?
No. I hope we haven't done that for a show, have we?
No.
That might have been one of those where
I did Amiga's play on Archon Ultra, but you need to play these.
Okay.
They're great. It was an Electronic Arts, and it was well received. According to its rating on Lemon, it got an 8.3, which this is an all-time classic, freefall software, a fun game. So I think that's a pretty good hit. Now, and we'll discuss these in their entirety after I'm done. Second game on the list, another game that I'm familiar with, is a game called Hacker. Hacker was from Activision. It was pretty well received by the Lemon folks, 6.5 rating. I'd say that's about right. The one thing I remember about Hacker is I had to confirm this when I was researching this. The game starts you off with like a log on prompt, and you don't have any documentation or have any idea what to do.
Wow.
And so you've got to just figure it out, which I always thought was cool. It did make you feel like you were hacking something. It was a pretty interesting game. This one I played on the C64 more than I played anything else. The next game, and this is one I had to look up. I wasn't sure. It was called Hex, Hex.
Not like the department store.
No. This one was from an outfit called Mark of the Unicorn. It was a puzzle game, and it's a point and click. To me, having looked at it, it looks like a point and click, like a Cubert. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on our screen here if you're watching the video, and you're
looks very similar to Cubert.
You're pointing around, but the patterns you have to. You see up in the upper left is a little pattern symbol. You want to put the stuff in pattern order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty clever. You can see it. Turn the arena green.
Yeah.
So pretty simple, but it's a pretty simple game. It looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. The next game. Now this one is we're going to be working a little bit blue. You might not want to pull this one up, Boat. Of course. What's the inaugural year of a computer without some sort of weird sex game? And so you've got a game here called Interaction. Now this actually isn't that sexy. The people in Lemon gave it a 4.25. It's from an outfit called Intracorp. The funny thing about this is this is an educational sex game. Yeah, the look on Boat's face there was priceless. It's sort of a database. You can fill out a profile of yourself.
Because I know when I want to give my kid the talk, I want to just say, here, just play this game. It'll explain everything.
Well, your kid would know. He would be very thoroughly educated on this one. But it's sort of like a how-to, it's unusual. But, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, It's not, like, smutty, I don't think, but it is what it is. So the next game is a game called Master Type. All right, Master Type from an outfit called Scarborough Systems, and it got a 7.5 amongst the Lemon people. Master Type is a typing tutorial with a space theme.
Looks like this is the Atari 8-bit version. I don't know if the Amiga version looks any more advanced, but it's got a kind of a mule look to it. The aliens and stuff.
The aliens look like if they blew up the guys from Miner 2049. That's exactly what they would look like.
Now, hopefully, the Amiga version looks a little bit better. But
it does. I looked at it.
This has got a little charm to
it. So now the next one here. This I thought was really interesting. There's a couple of these on here. The next game was a game called A Mind Forever Voyaging. It's an Infocom text game. Now, I looked this one up because I'd heard of most of the Infocom games, but I wasn't familiar with this one. So get this: it's a text-based game based on the third book of a series of 3 called The Prelude by William Wordsworth. Have you ever heard of him?
Mm-mm.
And so it's a political. It's got a lot of politics and whatnot in it, and the book was a critically acclaimed critique of Reagan's politics in the era. You got to consider this is 85, so he'd been in for about 4 years.
Right.
And this was a pretty tough game. It actually this was a little more higher end than a lot of Infocom games. It required a little more processing power. There's a lot more going on. So I thought that was interesting. Now, from what I read, it did not sell well, but it was critically acclaimed for being very different and unique.
Yeah, I think by the time 85 had rolled around, the text adventure had sort of fallen out of
favor.
Oh,
you're so wrong, because that's not the only one in this list, and there's some good ones in here too. And maybe you're too young. The next game on my list, this is from, and by the way, A Mind Forever Voyaging got an 8 amongst the Lemon crowd, so that's pretty, and the Lemon crowd does a pretty good job with their ratings. I mean, I think they do a good job. Another one the next one they've got here from Activision, Mind Shadow. You ever heard of that one?
No.
Okay. Mind Shadow, it's an illustrated text adventure.
Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about.
This is sort of a tropical island affair.
I think if you just spent $1,800 on an Amiga 1000, the last thing that you would want to purchase is a text adventure.
Oh, now, $1,500.
Having a graphic to accompany it that's beautifully illustrated with 16-bit graphics, that's a whole different ballgame. But a blue, wall of white text.
Oh, listen, no one's questioning that. But there was also pricing was involved. And you got to remember, despite what you think about Infocom was a big deal, and their games were quite popular. So, you would offer them up. It's an easy port. That's
sure.
what aren't you?
Yeah.
So anyway, this game looked pretty interesting. It's like I said, it's some kind of deal where you're on a tropical island. It's your standard it's got a row of text, 2 rows of text for actions, and then underneath there's like a dialogue box, and then there's a picture, and there's an inventory. Pretty cool.
Yeah, looks nice.
Box looks pretty cool. I heard it was okay, not great. Now the next one, I guarantee we actually, believe it or not, I think we covered this one. I know we did an Amiga's Play, but I think we did a whole show on it. One-on-one basketball. Now this scored a 7.88 with the Amiga with the Lemon crowd. Now, having played this many times on other systems, I thought the Amiga version was pretty good. But I mean, again, now this is something. If I paid $1,800 or whatever, I would probably be like, man, I thought this thing where's that bouncing ball I heard about? I mean, this doesn't look that much different from the 8-bits.
It seems to be exactly the same as the 8-bit, except it's got a little bit more colorful background.
Yeah, I will say, now all that aside, some people rag on this game, but man, I remember when this came out, it was a pretty big deal. You had the 2 biggest guys in basketball, plus you had a pretty fun one-on-one simulation of basketball. It was fun, and you could break the backboard.
I'm not saying it's not fun. It just it's not a next-gen game.
Right. And then, so we're winding down here. So the next game, I'd heard of this one. I've not played it. from Electronic Arts, the 7 Cities of Gold, right? Which I love the name of that. 7 Cities of Gold. This was a game that that's just one I think was more of a, I'd heard on the C64 than I have anything else. The player takes the role of a 15th century explorer for the Spanish Empire, and you sail around a map and interact with natives to win gold and make friends with the Spanish court. Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Again, this one, it looks okay.
It kind of reminds me of a low res Pirates.
Yeah, and and some people will refer to this as like the unofficial prequel to Pirates, basically.
And again, this is another game that got an 8-bit computer release. That's very popular.
Well, we'll get back into that because almost all of these did. So the next one on our list from Infocom again, Wishbringer. Right? You ever heard of Wishbringer? Have you ever played any of the Infocom games, Bo?
I played Zork, and I'm sure I played a couple of them on the Atari.
This was another of the Infocom games. Again, it was pretty popular with the Lemon crowd. I mean, it's text on a white screen. Again, if I'd paid $1,500, is this the game I would run out and get? Probably not. But I mean, they were big at the time. Okay, now these next 3 games, these are the last 3, and we go into an area where there is some controversy as to exactly when these were released, but we'll go into them real quick. So the next one, another Infocom game, Planetfall. Now Planetfall, I did play back in the day. It's got an 8 rating from the Lemon crowd. Planetfall is a text-based like space/discovery game. I recall, you start as like you start at pretty much the lowest rank you can, like the Space Admiralty, or you're a complete scrub and you're mopping the floor. I remember this, and then something happens and you're like the ship crashes, or you're the only guy on the ship, and you explore. There's a lot of exploration. There's a lot of comedy. It's a funny game. I believe it has a sequel. That was pretty popular. Did this one ring a bell for you at all, Infocom?
No, I never heard of this one.
Okay, it's pretty popular. I even remember the box art too. So there's that one. Then you've got one called Borrowed Time. Okay, now I'd not heard of this one. It got a 7.53. It's from Interplay, and it's a point-and-click adventure game, and you're a detective who tries to rescue his kidnapped wife. All right, and it was published by Activision, developed by Interplay. So this looks a lot like the Desert Island.
Right.
It looks like the same engine. But hey, a detective story, kind of cool. And then lastly on my list of games, we had Delta Patrol. This is a super obscure game. I thought I'd just include it because I liked the name of the people that made it with the Other Valley software, and. There's not anything really known about this game, so I'm guessing like no one in their right minds had it or bought it. But it's just some kind of crazy.
This is not even the right thing.
Yeah, it's just some kind of crazy game. So there were a couple.
So let's take a look at this Delta Patrol real quick, because I think that this is the ST.
The Other Valley. That's version. It. Yeah, it's sort of like a. It looks like it looks like Choplifter to me.
It looks like Defender.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like Defender, except your radar is full screen.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad at all.
Roy, of all the games we've looked at, this is one of the better looking games.
And so when people ask, why did the Amiga only sell 150,000 units in the first 6 months? It's because these were the games. Now, a bunch of text adventures and a Defender clone.
Now let me go over a few last items here that I think are of interest. Because why did they sell that many Amigas? Well, there were some good things going for them. So in November of '85, an outfit called Microsystems Software introduced that thing called Scribble on the Amiga, and it was like a word processor. You gotta have one, right?
Yeah.
And then also in '85, an outfit called Maxisoft released a thing called Maxicom. It was a first dumb terminal program for the Amiga, right? So you can get online.
Sure.
Right. And then and this is a pretty important one. And when I posed this question on Twitter, what was your favorite bit of software in '85? The only people that had anything to say about it, because if you remember, were the Guru Meditation guys mentioned this, and they were right. And this is probably the most important thing that released the whole year. Electronic Arts released Deluxe Paint.
Yeah, and that's really the killer app.
Yeah,
from the first year.
It was a rewrite of Prism for the PC, and that was an enhanced port of Doodle that was made up on a Xerox system.
Interesting.
So there you go. So now to go back through these, a lot of these, I looked through these. There were only 2. I could only find of all these games we talked about. There were only 2 that were just on the Amiga. All right. The rest of these, it looks like they appeared at least somewhere else. Almost all of them are on the ST and somewhere on the C64, and some other, and like C+4. The 2 that I could only find were only on the Amiga were Master Type, the typing space game, but we found that on the Atari, right? So even that one wasn't listed as being anywhere else. So I guess maybe we're down to 1 Interaction, the text-based space sex ed game. That's the only one I can find.
I'm sure that sold huge numbers.
So let's discuss this for a minute. So you had all these games that we discussed, all these Infocom games, all these the text adventure games, and these. But I mean, effectively, they really all had one thing in common, right? They were almost all ports off 8-bits. They were 8-bit ports, effectively. So there was no one. This is a lot like our earlier conversation with VR. There was no one that had a game ready to go in '85 to say, "Here's what the Amiga can do." Bam.
Right.
And so you had a bunch of also-rans. Effectively, a lot of those games have been out for a while, and the text games really showed you nothing. So that first year was a little wobbly, to say the least.
To me, and I don't know how the pipelines work, but I think that this is still the case even to this day, is that I don't understand why, like, launch releases, like the first round of games, they're almost always terrible. There are very few exceptions, but if you look at even in the current generation, like I remember when the PS2 came out, and the first raft of games that launched with the PS2, they were all crap.
Yeah.
The PS1, I don't know what launched with the PS1, but
I can tell you, like, Wipeout was amongst the first titles. Battle Arena to Shinden.
Okay, so the PS1,
they had some pretty good titles.
But Sony had to do that because that was their first console. So but at the same time, why didn't the Amiga launch? Maybe it's because the hardware just wasn't ready and they had such a small window.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think people were also, you had a lot of established computers. It's tough to take that first tentative step into a new system. Unless you're a big player or someone with a lot of guts, you're risking a lot of money. And really, let's face it, people have lost their shirts this first couple of years.
Yeah.
Now, to put it in perspective, lastly, I had a look at, I used a couple of different database sites to determine how many games got released for other systems in '85, just for fun, okay? So the C64 launched in August of '82. So it'd been out, it'd been 3 years, okay? According to the database, it had, and this is Lemon 64, I believe is where I got these numbers. It had almost 400 games released that year. That's amazing. I looked up the Atari 8-bits. Okay, now the Atari 400 released in November of '79. Okay, now was 400? Was that the very first 8-bit that was released for Atari?
I believe that the 800 was launched first, but the 400 followed soon after.
Okay, so we're somewhere in the ballpark of '79.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That year in '85, of course, this thing now you're looking at 6 years old. 600 games were released that year. 600 games for the Atari computers. Now the Atari ST had been released in June of '85. So they beat Amiga to the market by a month, and were probably shipping sooner as well, right? Because obviously the Amiga didn't ship until later in the year. The Atari ST, and it had 45 games listed. Almost all these plus another 30-some. So the ST jumped way ahead early.
Right.
Now the Amiga caught up clearly, but I thought it was interesting that they released. It's crazy they released. This might explain why the Amiga got such low end support early. Because I mean, you just Atari, the big monster, just released their new big time computer at the exact same time. And it's very similar.
And this is the issue is that, if you're going to sell a $1,500 computer, you don't want it to be known as a $1,500 games machine, okay?
Right.
But if you don't sell with a whole bunch of productivity apps, then that's exactly what you're going to be known as.
And really, what they were known as, I think, that first year was the company that had nothing. They really didn't have much productivity stuff, and it's not like the games are blowing them out of the park either.
Right.
The Commodore desperately, from what I read, they really wanted to be considered a productivity and like an IBM type PC, and it took them a while before they embraced the other side.
Yeah, and if you look,
and I'm not sure the ST ever wanted to do that. I mean, maybe they did.
I think that the ST just I don't know that they ever had a clear and focused vision of what they wanted that machine to be, other than they wanted it to be price competitive.
They wanted to be vengeance.
Yeah. But when you compare it to another computer that launched within that same time frame, the original Macintosh, they made a concerted effort to not have any games on their platform. Steve Jobs is very famous for not wanting to make the Mac like the Apple II. The Apple II was the games machine, but they launched with a whole raft of desktop publishing apps that were truly state of the art. You could change fonts. It was a black and white system, but it was very high resolution, and there was no question that it was a business machine. Should the Amiga have gone that route? Well, maybe, but I don't know that they had the software developers that could pump out something that was as good as Mac Write. Deluxe Paint, like you said, it was not original to the Amiga, even though it's most famous for the Amiga. It was a port of a previously existing PC platform.
If you think about it, and we can close with this. Think about the environment that the Amiga was launched in. Okay, we've just mentioned the Atari 8-bits had been around for a while. I don't know how big they were in Europe, but they were pretty popular here, right? So you had the Atari line. Then you've got your C64, been only out a couple years. So the C64 hadn't even hit its full stride yet. They were cooking, right? Then you also had the ST that just got launched. You already had the Apple's entries at that time. You also had the TI-99, which was a big deal over here. It was quasi big deal at the time. It was pretty bright. You had the color computer was still doing well. You also had the emergence of the PC line, your clones, PC Juniors, all that sort of wacky PC market was going on.
And you had the launch of the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Sure. So you've got it's a crowded market space there. And you're trying to be the one out of all these that's going to be the productivity computer. You're going to be whatever your niche is. Tough.
It's a long road to hoe.
Especially when you've got the Mac even back then had a rep for being like the publisher's computer.
Yeah.
The PC was the spreadsheet computer. So what does that make your computer?
Right.
And no one ever said, "Hey, these C64s we're going to use these things for productivity."
No.
So,
outside of magazine ads, nobody seriously thought that was the case.
I wonder if Amiga. Granted, they pushed it like an artist's computer, and that's what it ended up being to a certain degree. But I wonder if Amiga, if they started out right out of the gate and said, "We're going to have the best games," period. Maybe I don't know if it would have made a difference.
It's hard. It's a hard sell to parents paying that much money.
You're
for a
right,
games
especially when the NES just popped out for $100. Whatever
we're talking about something that literally costs 10 times the amount.
Yeah, you're right. But anyway, that's a look at Amiga 1985, and if y'all like that, maybe
that was well put together. Thank you for doing that. We're going to take a quick break, a quick bathroom break. So I'm going to stop the recording. And
we've never done that.
We've never done that. Show. That's because I've never needed to use the bathroom.
Okay,
before.
Well, take your break.
Okay.
I'm assuming you're going to edit this whole thing out.
Yeah.
You'll never make the light of day.
So only the Patreons will see.
I'm going to talk to the
really
chat
happened.
people while you're gone.
We got tons of people here.
As soon as you're out, I'm going to badmouth you. Look at this guy. What an unprofessional jerk. You got to pee. If you were a real broadcaster, you'd get a cup and you'd set it right there.
That's what Costas does.
Is that what he does? Hi, everyone. I'm going to look in here. Oh, Paul. How you doing? Lurker. I love it. How y'all doing? You can see without Boat, the show just grinds to a halt. I'm sorry. I got nothing interesting to say. Hey, we can look at Boat's stuff while he's gone. Oops, yank this thing out. You notice the TV's gone. He's replaced it with whatever's going on here. What is that? Amstrad. Forgot about the Amstrad. I don't know what they were doing in '85. What time is it over there, y'all? I bet it's cold as heck in Calgary today. This is the coldest day we've had since winter ended. It's chilly out. I think the high today is going to be 39. Well, I don't know. Yeah, Paul. Boat's crazy. So, hey, listen. All welcome, man. Don't discriminate. Feeling better, Boat?
Yep.
Beautiful.
I'm ready to go.
You look like $100.
Thank you. Especially my shorts in November.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's indoors. There's no rules.
You wear socks with your house shoes, do you?
Oh yeah, I'm like.
I hate socks.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
I'm a big.
I've
believer.
got skin like this on my feet. That's why. Yeah.
I'm a big supporter of socks.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I don't have a problem with them. It's just, it hurts me. Everything hurts me all the time.
That's interesting. So it's physically uncomfortable for you to wear socks?
You know the two worst things you can make me do? Wash dishes and fold towels. And I had to do both those all night.
Have you thought about getting the gloves for when you do dishes?
And it doesn't help. No, nothing helps. You just suck it up. So with that mental picture, see what Paul said? He's had enough of you.
Oh, Paul, what's up? Yeah, Paul, if you're watching live, then there's we do the show live for all, and then
we're for the people.
Yeah, Patreon members get to watch it on demand, but everybody's welcome to watch live. So don't feel bad about that.
No, send us a check, Paul.
Yeah, feel bad, feel guilty, pay us money.
Nah, we love you.
You see this?
We love
you see what I got going on under the table right there?
Yeah, you kicked the remote in the floor.
Well,
nice job.
I didn't even know that remote was
now
there.
that's the laziest damn thing I ever saw.
You want one too, don't you?
No, I'm not going to put my feet up while I'm recording because I'm action packed. I got to move, man.
That's why we're like the yin and the yang. You're action packed, and I'm laid back and easy.
You're laid back, all right. We can start the show back.
Okay.
We haven't done yet.
All right.
Should I get in the same pose I was in when you left?
Nah, we'll just do a fade, cross fade. So Aaron, it's time to talk about Top Banana.
Oh man,
this is what you've been waiting for. You've been waiting all your life for this moment.
First of all, Bud, who was it that suggested this to us?
This was Blindo75, Patreon supporter.
You should be taken out and killed, sir. I'm sorry. Actually, he said this was the worst game he'd ever played. And,
yeah.
Well, we'll get into it, Blindo. But I'd like to throw this into Blindo. So, Top Banana. Now, this game was, I don't want to say released. It was unleashed. It escaped in 1992. Ponder that for a minute.
92. So it's a late release for the
Well,
Amiga.
not that late, but it was developed by an outfit called Hex. Hex. Ironically, we talked about a game called
Still
Hex.
not the department store.
It was a, believe it or not, this came on 2 discs. What's this?
That is unbelievable.
One player, and the outfit that did this were just a few people, and only one of them has ever done anything before or since. The brain trust, the master behind this is a guy named Miles Visman. He was responsible for a game called Turbo Tracks. Not Turbo Tax, Turbo Tracks, which I've never played.
I always thought what was the name of that big toy that...
Big Tracks.
Big Tracks.
I have got one of those, by the way. Yeah.
Okay.
So this was, you could play this on any Amiga and go crazy if you really wanted to. Believe it or not, this was a conversion, if you can believe that. Did you know that?
I did know that, yeah.
It was based on the 1991 Acorn Archimedes hit.
Right. Boy, the Archimedes, that might have been its darkest hour.
That was it. The Archimedes, they found its Achilles heel. It was also let loose on the Atari ST. So they weren't spared the pain over there. Gosh, where to begin on this game? Let's talk about the game itself, okay? Now, in this modern day, I found the manual for this, if you can believe it. So I'm just going to go into this a little bit, because this game is it puts together such a rich environment that I think we need to expostulate on exactly what's happening in the game. So you play as KT. And she is the top banana. Mm-hmm. All right, get it?
Does it actually say she is the top banana?
It says introducing KT in her first game.
So we don't know if she is the top banana.
All right. Her talents include singing and dancing. in the video for the latest record, Global Chaos. Okay, I'll get into that in a minute. This is straight from the manual. The planet is under threat, and it's not from aliens or evil wizards, but from direct consequences of our own greed and stupidity.
Hey, I live with that every day.
What a way to start your. So there's a lot of stuff here. The only way you can take and repel these evil forces is with your love. This is what you use in the game to repel these evil forces. Your love, your sweet, sweet love.
Sweet, sweet love.
And so you. And that's the greatest challenge. I'm not going to read all this because it's so hokey. But so this sets up, because I wondered as I went through this game what in God's name I was doing. So this is a upwardly scrolling platformer. Mm-hmm. And you stop me when I screw this up. Where you try to get to the top of each level, avoiding obstacles, jumping from ledge to ledge, and the only weapon you have is your love. Sweet love.
Oh, sweet love.
And your love is represented by little hearts that you shoot from your body.
Right.
It's your love gun, just like Kiss, right? So KT has her love gun, and she shoots these bad guys. The bad guys come in several different forms. They're not the easiest things to make out. Let's say, I think I saw bulldozers in there. You want to take a stab at what some of this stuff is? There's some acid rain.
Yeah, one of the things looks like the cover of that thing right there. Looks like the cover of a Public Enemy album. In the crosshairs, a guy in the crosshairs.
There's the bulldozer.
There's a thing that looks like
chainsaws.
Right.
I guess they're cutting down the rainforest.
One of the many problems with this game is that you don't know what is friend and what is foe and what is background.
Yeah, which we'll get into that.
So yeah.
You as you progress up these levels, you'll get to the top, and as you go along, it's got Boat's favorite thing: 400 billion collectibles. This game looked at Super Frog and said, we can do this better. And so they went out and they put in 4 billion collectibles. And I think they're in the form of mostly fruits, like a la Miss Pac-Man, I guess. So, and when you get to the top of a level and you complete it, like, you will fall, the whole level will come down and big, huge, enormous items will fall on you and you can collect them for points. And that's like your bonus. And that's the level. You've got a rainforest level, which you want to describe this level to the listeners, Bo, if they can't see it.
I'm going to play a little bit of the soundtrack for you, so you can hear the rainforest sounds.
Oh, man, I'll let you do this. I've got something to say about that.
So the one good thing about this game, it's saving grace. It's not really its saving grace at all.
I can hear this.
The rainforest backdrop, the birds and the things, I think that's not bad. However, when you get hit by anything, you might have already heard this. You make a very bad sounding sound. So it's set in the rainforest. I'm going to turn that lovely music back off. The backdrop is a green, and several items in the foreground are also green. So it's impossible sometimes to just really tell what's what. It's almost like they went out of their way to make the worst looking game imaginable.
First of all, let me start my descriptions by saying if this is the way a true rainforest is, we should burn them all. I'm with the loggers. Where to begin? First of all, no game has sounded this grating. I mean, ever in the history of all games. Mm-hmm. I have never heard a game that was more unappealing from an audio perspective.
Right.
Especially from an outfit of DJs. These guys should have their DJ cards revoked. I mean,
agree.
The audio in this is, that noise that KT, but let's talk about KT for a minute. KT, the lovely, environmentally conscious emo girl, is so ugly. She looks, you want to try, how do you describe her? It looks like Emo Phillips with a fun bob and a facial clown makeup.
Yeah, it looks. She looks like a ventriloquist dummy in that her eyes are completely wide open, and she's got clown makeup on. But her face is an implacable smile that borders on the demonic.
We just watched that Ric Flair 30 for 30, and Rick wasn't the best parent. If you were like, I pretend Mr. Do is Ric Flair. If this is like his sad, emotionally strained daughter, this is Mrs. Don't. And Mrs. Don't means don't play her game. I mean, she's horrible.
That's quite the analogy you set up there.
I thought about this quite a bit because I looked at this. I swear to you, when we do a game, when we do our take on a game, I try to sit down and give these games a lot of attention.
Sure.
I have never, and I'm talking Castlevania, first-person pinball, all the horrible games we played. I have never wanted to turn a game off more than I have this one.
Yeah, and it's not because of the gameplay.
Yes, it is. That's part of it.
Well, the gameplay is part of it, but the gameplay is not the worst. It's the combination of the gameplay and the graphics. They unite against you in such a way that I've never seen before.
It is. I mean, it's like an affront on your senses.
Yeah.
So let me get through the rest of these levels here, and then we'll move along. So you've got this rainforest level. Then the next level, and I use the cheat, believe it or not, to play all these levels, and I'm really embarrassed to see that. Then you've got the Metal City level. The Maniac Metal City is a loveless place, according to these documents. So you've got that level. Then you've got the World's Temple level, the Temple level. This is it is what it is. And then you've got the last set of levels are the Mindscape levels, and the Mindscape levels. I mean, these things were. I don't know who thought this level. I mean, you haven't seen the last level here.
No.
Man, it's just a calamity. It's the ugliest of the bunch. This game. Let's see, how many rudimentary game-making mistakes does this make? Aside from the graphics and the sound, every level aside from the very first level starts you in immediate danger, which is something I hate. I mean, you're instantly, if you're not tapping the fire button, you're instantly losing hit points. The hitbox on this is bizarre. The level platforms are set up to be as difficult and annoying as possible.
Right.
The enemies randomly will have one or two hits. Like, for example, sometimes they will shrink. Some of the enemies are stationary and they look just like pickups, and you'll run into them. Some enemies you don't know are enemies at all, and you run into them on purpose, and then they hurt you. Sometimes things are too small to hit. It's everything about it is just so super irritating.
Yeah. One of the many things that irritated me about this game, and something that actually an easy change that would have made it a lot more playable, is that whenever you're hit by anything, it immediately drops you down a platform.
Yes.
If they would have taken that out, it would have been, it wouldn't have made it a great game, but it would have made it a more playable game. Also, the way that the platforms are set up is that there's almost no... There's no alternate path you can take. There's only one set path that you have to complete these levels on because of the way the platforms are spaced out. You can never skip platforms, like you can never jump two at a time. It's almost as if they had a grid and they made these platforms according to a grid with your jump height. No creativity whatsoever.
The backgrounds, I read a little bit, believe it or not, about the technical aspects of what is going on. Because if you look real close when you play this game, there's actually some, parallax scrolling that's going on in a weird way. So the Amiga has a mode, and from what I read, they use this mode. It's called HAM, Hold and Modify. It's usually mostly for graphics. They use that somehow on these backgrounds. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure how they did it, what they did. It's funny in a weird remedial way. If they had chosen backgrounds that didn't blend so thoroughly into the foreground, they may have sort of had something, because the way the game scrolls upwardly, it's pretty smooth. It's, you could almost see, and like you said, this is not the worst gameplay. Like, I found this more playable than, say, It was up in the same realm as like when we did Castlevania. So, I mean, it was like, which is not a compliment, by the way.
Right, but it's not absolutely the worst.
But it's just the stuff that sucks is the hit detection, the knockback. The way the levels are structured. Oh, by the way, there's water that comes up under you that you're supposed to stay ahead of the water that's coming up. That's another obstacle. At least on the first level, I only got, like I said, I played a little tidbit of the other levels, but they were so hard I couldn't get very far on.
Right.
And I could not find an indestructibility element to the cheat codes. This game was put out by an outfit called Hex. All right, so I looked into these guys, and this is a strange story in itself. So the Hex guys were like a DJ hip hop duo that it went on to be known as Hex Static. Okay, and they did a bunch of DJing. They did some crap with 3D glasses. They did rave visuals. They did a CD-ROM, and they ended up actually porting this to the CD-TV in a package, believe it or not. And I looked at this. I mean, I suffered for this game, but I want you to know that. I want your appreciation. And I went and played this. Now, it's the exact same game, but they've got some of their stylized musical things on it. I don't know what
like samples?
And no, this is like songs. And they were horrible. And I mean, it was like, the Amiga is known as a great music machine, and CDTV is an Amiga.
Right.
And these were not good. The visuals were not good. I mean, it was just remedial, low-end DJ crap. And I love acid stuff, and I like dance music, but this was a big old
not
fail.
a good example of
and having
genre.
This game on there added non-bonus. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I forgot to mention this. So because it just popped up on the screen, when you get to a certain point in some levels, you get this sort of a photo negative.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I watched the whole playthrough of this. Some poor sucker, God bless that man, played this thing all the way through.
Dan Warren.
But you get to certain points in the level, and when it goes photo negative, it slows everything down to a crawl. Yeah. And at first, I thought it was the Amiga Forever or my Amiga. I controlled tutor, and it did it on both things. And so I watched the video, and it does it in the video too. So, and that is real annoying.
It's an assault on your eyes.
And man! And
the
funny thing is, like when the one level that I got high enough on where it did it is you would get halfway up the level, and then it would come on, and you had to climb out of it effectively. So every time you fell back into it, you fell right back into it. And you're just like, oh my gosh! I mean, it was brutal game. So anyway, getting back to Hextastic. This was their lone effort with this game, thank God. They also, but like I said, they did a lot of music stuff. They've actually won awards, believe it or not. They did music video editing. They work with a DJ or a rapper called Cold Cut, which that's a great name. So,
oh man!
If you want to look into what Hextastic has been up to, I mean, there's stuff out there. I think they have a website. I didn't delve too deeply into it, except that I wouldn't know who to point the finger at.
Would you say that this is their most succccessful commercial achievement?
No, because they won awards, and this did not win awards.
This didn't win awards?
No. Well, I mean, it should have won. Game most played before suicide would be this game. This game also billed itself, and you're gonna love this. What an angle this was, because I guess it mixes in with the theme. This game was billed as the first environmentally friendly game. The packaging on it was recycled cardboard. And so there you go. That was one of the big claims to fame. So you can see hey, it's funny, we just talked about environmental stuff on the pre-show. Hey, I love the environment. I live there. But I mean, this was not doing anyone any favors.
This did not inspire me to cut a check to Greenpeace.
I wanted to take a blowtorch and a chainsaw to every tree I saw after playing this. Yeah, I can't think of any game we've played, and I'll say it now because we have, I don't know when we're going to get to 150 if we do another flashback show. This is an early contender for the worst batch of game we've played this set, and it's got to be. I'm trying to think if it's a game I enjoyed less. I mean, even 3D pinball was ambitious. I mean, first-person pinball. I can't think of anything I hated more than this ever that we've ever done.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah. Altogether, this is the worst. Just because it is a combination of literally the worst graphics I think I've ever seen of any video game, and the frustrating playability aspects of it. You'd think that a 16-bit system could produce graphics, even at its worst, that would be better than earlier systems. But this game is an example of why that's simply not the case. They've taken all the worst aspects of digitizing things, digitizing still objects and animating them, making backgrounds that render the foreground unintelligible, and then topping it off with one of the most hideous looking main characters I think I've ever seen.
Have we seen anyone stupider looking than KT?
No. I mean, this person makes the Lionheart guy look like Sean Connery.
Now wait a minute. This chick, remember the bully caveman?
Yeah.
The time traveler. I really hated him, but man, I was aching for that guy.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, she is so, and the noises she makes. Honestly, have you ever played a game on any system that was so offensive in every conceivable way?
No, I haven't.
I mean, the audio on this, we haven't touched on the audio. You can't understand how ugly it is.
Yeah, I'll play a little bit more of it as we continue to talk.
It makes you want to gouge your own eyes and ears out. It's horrible. You know, I was thinking about this when I was on the way over here. Because, you know, generally, when we do a game, and I don't think it's on purpose, but I try to be pretty nice to the games, even if I'm not really down with them, because a lot of times you don't get to spend enough time with them.
Yeah, and it's good to find the positive.
You know, and I do, and I try to. I don't want to be one. I don't want to like the video game nerd just kill these games.
Right.
You know what I mean, but I don't think I've seen a game that I couldn't. I hate every aspect of this game, and what really makes me mad is somewhere in here there could have been something. The upward scrolling platform game. It's not bad. You can do something with it.
Yeah, you can make an environmentally conscious Rainbow Islands clone.
Well, they said this. A lot of people compare this to Rainbow Islands, which don't do that.
Well, it's the game that you can compare it to the most.
Yeah, but I mean, I like what it reminded me of was a little bit. It was like Popeye 2. Remember where you jump upwards in that one?
Right.
But I mean, Popeye 2 was way better, and I didn't like it either. You could take a cutesy character, but I mean, the good guys are ugly, the bad guys are ugly, everything in this is ugly. And you're right about the ray tracing. What they did was they basically digitized things.
Mm-hmm. I think they were using Wilcox's handheld scanner too.
Well, I mean, when you scan stuff like that and it's sort of low res, it just looks really bad. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look like something. It looks like nothing. Now, the advantage of it is they could scale it, and so when it's at full size, it doesn't look. When that stuff's falling from the sky, it looks okay. But and it's just like the whole ham thing in the background. I mean, you could have put something back there that was less abrasive than what they've got. I mean, even the foreground, like we're looking at a level here that I think is the city level. Look at the posts that those platforms. They just look like glitch.
Yeah.
The whole game looks like it's glitched up.
Right. It's like when you're playing a game and something's gone wrong and you just see the code running in the back, the different sprite tiles and things.
The colors, like I guess that's acid rain, but I mean, it's ugly looking. Even the smallest details are
Even
hideous.
the things that are supposed to be cute and pretty are ugly in this game.
Yeah. So we could sit here and talk all day about what we hated, but we'll just go with the fact that it's not a game I
do want to mention one comment from the chat. Paul Kitching, who's watching us live, he says the most famous cold cut thing is probably a song called Doctor in the House, featuring Yaz and the Plastic Population. So Yaz we've heard of. You remember Yaz? Yeah. Only
Carl
you
Yastrzemski?
looking through the window of love is like a story above. You don't know that song?
Man, after hearing that, turn up the volume on the game.
Oh, man. All right. So, anyway, we'd hate it.
We probably should mention the reviews and stuff, as we spent so long killing it. So people reviewed this. Guess what? It didn't do well. So Amiga Action gave it a hearty 55. Amiga Joker. Are you kidding me? They laid this down, climbed to the top rope, and dropped a big 16% on it. Bam! Oh yeah. Believe it or not, you're not gonna believe this one. Amiga Mania gave this an 80%. They should be taken out and killed.
Yeah.
Amiga Power 45%, and something I've never even heard of. That's Magazin. I'm guessing German. 75%. Again, taken out, killed. I looked on eBay for this, believe it or not, and there were none. However, one had recently sold, if you can believe that, and it had sold for like a ton of money. Apparently, the CD-TV version of this, that Global Chaos, is very, very rare. And it's let me find the exact price here in my notes. I've got so much crap here. Here it is. It sold for this in the U.S. Ponder this, if you will. Think of the Global Chaos, the music package, the game, all in one disc. $108 in the United States.
Well, I can see that because this is just a title that I'm sure was released in very, very, very limited quantities. It's one of those, just like Chase the Chuck Wagon for the 2600, where it has this sort of an angle with music producers behind it, plus the environmentally friendly stuff that surrounds it. It's a neat story. I can see the collectability of a game like this.
Well, just a little bit more. And this is from, ironically, this is from Dreamcatch's article that's available on our site. We strongly recommend you'll read that. When this thing came out, the CD-TV revision, which is what I looked at, it had soundtrack mixed with vocals. And listen to this. Some of these guys we've actually heard of. One of the guys on it was Biz Markie.
Oh,
now, him I know.
You
got what I need. And so, yes, that Biz Markie was associated with these guys.
I love the Biz.
Well, I don't love the Biz, but I mean, I was amused by the Biz.
Oh,
but what else has he done?
You hear his stuff with the Beastie Boys?
No.
Oh, it's great.
I'm not a huge Beastie Boys fan either. I like the Beasties, but I'm not a big fan. But that much said, these guys are all far superior to what we looked at. So that's it. I'll wash my hands of this game. And Blendo, I got a bone to pick with you. Then again, Blendo, as I recall, his comments last week were like, "This is garbage."
Right.
He
warned us. He warned us.
We paid the ultimate price. We don't usually go after a game, but man.
This one, yeah.
It's like I never walk out in a movie, but
All right, Aaron. Well, it is time for our quiz.
The interactive quiz.
Yeah, what's turning into a new weekly segment on the show. Again, I'd like to thank Darren Coles for submitting these questions. We're going to do this. This is a two-part quiz, and what we're going to do is I'm going to let you guess the answers right now, knowing full well that you'll probably get most of them wrong. And
I hate this quiz.
But I would like our audience members to please write in with your answers. Just number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the first 3 quizzes that come back correct, I will ship out a super special prize. You'll get one of these nifty Amigos magnets sent directly to your home. So listen to the quiz questions and write to amigos@amigospodcast.com with your answers. And like I said, I'll choose the first 3 that come in. Will get announced on the podcast next week as I destroy the audio. And you'll get one of these awesome magnets.
Straight from Hawaii.
Yeah, straight from Hawaii. Thanks again to Jonas Rulo for sending these awesome magnets. All right, Aaron.
So let me get this straight. I'm going to make a guess, and then the listeners at home could just go with me.
Right.
So I'm not going to know if I'm right or not.
Right. You won't know until next week.
All right. Go ahead. I'm ready.
Okay.
This is going to look stupid, is it? Because I don't want that.
We'll see.
Oh, damn. Okay. Go ahead.
Number 1. Members of which famous demo group went on to write Pinball Dreams?
I don't know.
All right.
I wasn't a big demo guy.
Number 2. What year was the Amiga 600 released?
Wait, the first question, I'm going to say Fairlight.
Okay.
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 What year was the 600 released?
Right. That's number 2.
Oh, let's go with, let's say 92.
92 is your answer? Okay. I'm going to write your answers here on the notes so we can go back to them.
So you can humiliate me
Yes.
later. Okay.
Okay. Number 3 is, Which Amiga developer, after producing a very famous Amiga game for Psygnosis, went on to write Destruction Derby for the PlayStation?
No idea. Although I like that game.
Okay. How many hardware sprites does the Amiga have? Just take a guess.
0.
Okay. And what company, this is the final question, number 5, what company was the official distributor of X-Copy?
Gosh, you think I've stared at that screen for so long, you think I'd never remember that. I don't remember. It's been so long since I used X-Copy. I don't know.
All right.
So I didn't do well.
You did not do well.
How many of these would you have gotten, Bode?
0.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you know what X-Copy is, Bode?
Is that just like commercial software sold that allows you to make backups of your games?
Yeah, I should ask you a harder one.
Yeah.
Just keep going, Bode.
Okay, well that's the end of the first question, or the first quiz.
I hated that quiz. Who made that?
That's Darren Cole.
Too hard, Cole.
All right.
Keep it simple for the humanoid.
And remember, please, guys, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Google Plus.
Spreaker. Chris Folds inquired about where the show notes can be found for each episode. That's a great question. You can find our show notes over at our Google Plus page,
where we read them directly.
That's exactly right.
Chris didn't know it, but he inadvertently helped me with my show notes.
That's right. That's right. And you can contribute to our show notes by posting to the Google Plus page.
That's right.
It's time, Aaron, to thank our lovely Patreon supporters. Mm-hmm. And this week...
I don't see the guitar.
Well, this week we're doing it a cappella.
Oh, man.
Because we're talking about Sweet, Sweet Love on... We were. So I thought we'd do a little song with love in the title.
All right.
The Slow Norris, Stefan Sigard Mortensen, Edvin Helen Belindo, 75... John Marshall, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Folds, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vebke, Brent Dowdy, Landinson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Huckasey, Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Darkest House, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nanwood Williams, Adam Bradley, Neil Mansell, Jonas Rulo, THG, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy Humberstein, Daniel Bingston, Rhoda Barracuda, Derek Cole, Jason Walls, Pixels at Dawn, Kjolbjorn Barman.
Now I'm going to try to guess the song you were doing. Don't tell me.
Okay.
Because that was just horrible.
And by horrible, I assume you mean amazing.
No, I mean painful, agonizing. I beg for the sweet release of death. Were you doing that? Loving you.
Yes.
It's easy cause you're beautiful. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. You didn't hit the high note.
I did hit the high note.
You didn't hit it. You didn't hit any of the low notes either. There it is. Man. Oh, that song's in the trash.
Do you know who sang that?
Oh, geez, no. There's been several versions of it.
No, there hasn't.
Yeah, there has. There's been at least two.
There's only been one person that's ever sang that.
Don't tell me. It was a dude's brother. I remember that.
No dude has ever sung that song.
No, a dude sang it. No, a dude sang that song.
You're thinking of a different song.
No, man. Go ahead and you tell me who sang the version you're talking about.
Minnie Riperton.
I don't know. Yeah, I know her. How do you even know her name? What else has she done?
That's it. She died after that.
Wow. I almost died after you did it.
Yeah, she died when she was
I'm glad she's not around to hear that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, before I forget, two things. One, the Amigos challenge, it's over. It's taken me a little extra time to cobble together the video and something that's presentable, but I promise you, sure as I'm sitting here, that next week, even if I don't have the video done, I will release the winner's name and rank everybody, but I'm working on it. Secondly, what do we need to talk about that we always forget every week, that people reminded us to talk about?
I just mentioned the social media.
Yeah, but I just thought, I'm going to say that every week because we always forget to talk about something.
Oh.
What do you got? Nothing?
Nothing.
We got it. We're done.
All right. Good. Well, next week, Aaron, we are going to take a turn.
Hold on. Because if you try to lay up Top Banana back on me, I'm going to pummel you.
Top Banana too.
Bam!
No, we're gonna take a turn for the better, pun intended.
Is it possible to go worse?
With F1 Challenge.
Oh, okay. Wow. I don't know who the clever, handsome devil was that suggested that game.
I don't know. Some other podcast host. So we're going to give that a whirl, and we will check back in with you guys next week, back at our normal recording time, Friday at 5:30 Eastern. I believe that is 10:30 now with the time change UTC.
Is that better than we were doing or worse?
Worse.
Oh, man. Sorry, guys.
So, but anyway, you can check us out on twitch.tv/Amigos Podcast. I'd like to thank Lurker74, Paul Kitching, and Chris Folds for being with us at this early hour. Thank you all so much for watching. Thanks for playing the Amiga. Thanks for supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/Amigos Podcast.
Thanks
to
all
be
the
part
veterans.
Of the song. Thank you, veterans. We will see you next week. Until then,
adios.